Welcome to Maddie's Monthly Foster Connection, a monthly webcast where we learn about topics of interest to those of us who are interested in starting or expanding foster programs. I'm Kelly Dewar, Senior Shelter Solutions Specialist at Maddie's Fund. Our guest today is Stacy Price, Operations Director at One Tail at a Time. Stacy Price has over 15 years of animal welfare experience, starting her career studying techniques to prevent stress behaviors in zoo animals. Her focus was forever changed in 2009 when she adopted an overlooked senior white shepherd from a county shelter. With Vlad as her inspiration, Stacy spent the next 10 years in a leadership position at various open intake and managed admission facilities before landing the job at One Tail at a Time as One Tail at a Time's operations director. When she's not working, you can likely find Stacy at home with her 5 cats, 3 dogs, rabbit, horse, and incredibly tolerant husband. Today, Stacy will be talking to us about how One Tail at a Time supports their foster caregivers. Welcome, Stacy.
I'm Stacy Price. I'm the operations director at One Tail at a Time, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about supporting your foster families. It has been a while since I have done a talk, so please forgive any nerves, but we're going to get started. So a little bit about me, as Kelly said, I am the operations director at One Tail at a Time. We are based in Chicago, Illinois. I have worked in shelters in both Indiana and Illinois. I've got about 15 years experience in animal welfare and started my career as a wide-eyed neonate foster kitten, or not foster kitten, because that'd be silly, a kitten foster. So at this point, I've probably fostered probably close to 100 neonate kittens, neonate puppies, dogs, and behavior cats. So this presentation is really near and dear to my heart because of the fact that I started as a foster parent as well. So a little bit about One Tail at a Time. I find that these talks usually, I leave them excited and I want to implement things, and then I start thinking about it and start thinking about how maybe it doesn't fit into what my organization's currently doing or what my structure is. And I end up thinking, what is the other group structure like? What are they doing differently than me? So I thought it was a good idea to start with a little bit about One Tail so that you guys can get to know where we currently are and where we came from. So we did start in 2008, and at that time we were completely foster based. As of now, we do have our own vet clinic, which is incredibly important to our life-saving work. We also have several small facilities for our dogs. We have an isolation center, an adoption center, and a behavior center. All of those facilities only host around 6 to 8 dogs. So not a huge population. And at any given time, we have around 350 to 400 animals in population. So the majority of those have to be in foster homes. And that is where all of these ideas for supporting fosters was really born from, out of necessity, because I don't have a place for some of these animals to go if they get kicked out or if the foster finds that fostering is too difficult for them to do. So all of these supports are in place to make your life easier as a foster coordinator or as a foster facility. The one thing that I do want to point out for cats is we really didn't ramp up our cat program until around 2020. And we still don't have any on-site housing for our cats. So we have to either do foster to foster transfers. That's really our only option. So having a robust community and foster support is critical for our mission. So the structure of our staff is we have 1 cat manager and 1 cat coordinator. And then we also have 1 dog manager and 2 dog coordinators. And our population is around 50-50 dogs and cats. We do have small animals. I'm not going to get into that too much today. Our cat manager also takes care of our guinea pig and rabbit program. It is just a little bit smaller. So we won't talk about that too much today unless you guys have specific questions. Our foster coordinators are responsible for an animal. They act as a case manager. So they're responsible for the animal assigned to them from intake all the way through adoption. They don't do the adoption counseling, but they do the intake. They bring them in, they vaccinate them, they do their cursory exams, they place them in foster homes, support the foster, make sure that they're on the trajectory for their vaccines, spay, neuter, all of that good stuff prior to adoption. So our foster coordinators have a lot of work to do in order to get all of these animals ready for adoption. Okay, recruitment and onboarding. 3 simple things that if you remember and chant them to yourself over and over again, are really helpful. One is that everybody is welcome, regardless of their capacity for fostering. You're going to need them at some point. So open your arms, open your doors, bring everybody in. Some of our fosters are strictly weekend fosters. So the only thing that they can do potentially is foster through a weekend. We might need that when a foster goes out of town. So that's totally fine. Those people should come in and do their orientation and be ready to do weekend fosters. And then throw out all the barriers that you possibly can. And I mean shelter barriers as far as making the application process and fostering super accessible. But I also mean, how many times have you talked to a foster and they've said, oh, I can't foster right now because I'm working 8 hours a day out of my house, or, oh, I can't foster right now because my car doesn't work. Those are all barriers that they're putting out. And I have an answer for almost every single one of those to be like, no, you can foster, and here's how we're going to do it. So anytime that you find a barrier, either within your program or a barrier for a foster, analyze those and figure out if there's a support system you can put into place to really support those fosters a little bit better. And then create a supportive, transparent community. So often, fosters may only foster for a couple of weeks every few months, and that's fine. We want them constantly engaged with us as an organization. So whether or not they have a current foster, we have them involved in our Facebook groups. We have them involved in our town halls. We do community town halls on everything from what our intake strategy is to what we're seeing throughout the United States with animal rescue. We will talk about anything to make people feel engaged and invested in what we're doing, because we need the community in order to do the work that we're doing. Okay, so everybody is welcome. What does that mean? Anybody can be a foster. So tap into your donors, your adopters, your volunteers. There's so much potential in the people that are already invested in you. And that involves, maybe a donor is only really interested in a puppy mill bust you guys did one time and they want to foster one small fluffy. That's okay. Onboard them, because you know what they're going to do? They're going to foster that small fluffy. They're going to post it on social media. They're going to talk about it at dinner with their friends, and they're going to engage their community in the work that you're doing. So let anybody who can be a foster. We've had a lot of success with younger people, college students who are maybe away from home and can't have a pet full time, but are really feeling quite lonely or not centered. Um, Age should not be a barrier either. They're all really responsible and they want to do what's right. So welcome everybody. Inspire your community. So talk about fostering every chance you get. Because we are foster based, one of the things that you'll kind of see is, if you look at our social media or anywhere else, is that there's at least one foster parent, usually more, involved with every single one of the animals as they go through our system. So we always can celebrate and highlight those individuals, and it engages more people to say, how could I do that really cool thing that that person's doing? And then make it easy. So that's that barrier thing again, right? So from onboarding to adoption, logistics have to be a breeze for people. In this day and age, we're all incredibly busy, and most people don't want to take on another thing. So asking them to bring a disruptive animal into their home, take it to vet appointments, do the enrichment, all of that, it can be a really big ask for people. So try to make it as easy as possible for people to onboard, people to foster, and even all the way to adoption. Make your logistics a breeze. Recruitment and onboarding. One of our biggest recruitment opportunities are open houses. And I have to say, I am an introvert, so I don't really want to talk to 50 people a day, right? And so many of the rescues and the shelters that I've worked for would just do basic matchmaking. So they would talk to a foster and say, okay, you want a dog between 50 and 60 pounds, take this one. And they would hand it over. And that doesn't necessarily give people the warm fuzzies of getting to choose their foster animal, get to really engage in the work that you're doing. So at least once a month, we host these foster open houses. These are for approved fosters, but these are also for people who are what I call foster curious. So roommates who maybe one wants to foster and the other is kind of reluctant, partners where maybe one is reluctant and the other is really gung-ho about doing it. It's a really great way to get people all on the same page. So when they go to our open houses, we onboard them right away. They can fill out an application and do the orientation all within 30 minutes of arriving. They can see our animals, they talk to our staff, they get to meet and just kind of feel the vibe of rescue. And it's such a huge deal for so many people. Some of these pictures are some of my favorite stories. This little boy with this guinea pig, who the guinea pig's name is Sir David Attenborough. This little boy came in and with his dad, and he wanted to foster a dog. And he walked into the kennel room and the dogs were loud and jumpy, and he put his hands over his ears and he went, absolutely not. And he walked out of the dog kennel. And we went, hey, do you want to maybe see like some cats and small animals? And we brought him in and he fell in love with this guinea pig. And this is a great example of, we've had fosters in the past who have brought dogs home and all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, my kid's afraid of dogs. So we were able to see this little boy up front and go, okay, he's not into the barky dogs right now. He fostered this guinea pig. Then he's fostered other guinea pigs for us. He now watches guinea pig YouTube channels. So he's become like our little guinea pig foster expert, and we love him. This Mastiff down here, this is Burger. He is 132 pounds. And has chronic ear infections and GI issues. And so with our fosters reading about him all the time, he was getting passed over time and time again. They can read that he's cuddly, they can read that he's a super chill dog, but what was happening is they would read his medical stuff and go, no, I'm out. And once we had Burger look this guy in the eye, like that was it. He was in love with this dog, he was invested, he took him home, and he did an excellent job fostering him. Before that, Burger had been living at one of our facilities for almost a month without foster prospect. So, and I think Burger was like the second dog to go home that day. This couple right here came in, onboarded, and ended up taking the last adult cat that was left at the open house. And the best part is that they ended up adopting her. So all of these are really great stories. At a foster event like this, what we see is that around 75 to 80% of the animals end up going home same day. So it gives us a really great chance to like engage with our community on a different level. So put on your extrovert hat, go out there, talk to people, engage people. It's a really wonderful thing, and we have fun every single time. So about our application, we try to keep our application as brief as possible. We do still ask for about 20 questions. I know it could probably be shorter, but most of them are questions about matchmaking. We want people to be able to finish this application easily within one sitting. So one of the things I always think about when I'm looking at our application or looking at our process is, if I'm sitting on the couch at night and that ASPCA commercial comes on and Sarah McLachlan starts singing and I go, I want to do something about this, I should be able to engage very quickly with a website and get an application on file, so that that way that motivation keeps piling up, versus if there's a long lag time or something becomes difficult, people are very likely to move on. So application is short. And then we reach out within 24 hours of the application being submitted. Our application team is actually made up completely of amazing volunteers. So they review those applications, they look at contact info. We do still ask for references. We do not call references up front. It's something that we do just in case a foster happens to go MIA or we're not able to get in touch with them. We do ask for the foster's history with the animals, any preferences that they have, and then any people and pet specifics in the home. So our application team immediately will reach out. They may counsel a little bit about the application. So let's just say somebody says, I am away from home 12 hours a day and they want to foster neonate kittens. Probably not going to fly, right? So it would be a time for us to say, hey, I noticed that you said this. Is it a typo, first of all? Because a lot of times it is. Or could we interest you in an adult cat or a bonded pair of cats or something like that? So it gives people an opportunity right up front to talk with real humans about the fostering experience. And it makes a huge difference, because then all of a sudden they have not only a connection with the organization, the want to foster animals, but also now they have a connection with a human. So they're much more likely to continue down the road for this process. As far as our orientation goes, Guys, I cannot tell you enough about how wonderful Thinkific is. It is free, sort of. So you're able to create your own course, upload it, and then people can complete it. Your first course is free, and they do 50% off for all nonprofits. It is the one thing that if you do need to pay for it, think about how much time you are saving if you aren't doing in-person orientations. We also have a higher conversion rate. So from application to orientation, it like skyrocketed basically when we went to a virtual orientation, because it's something somebody can do at 9 p.m. They can do it whenever they're available. They can do it in bits and pieces. It also fits any learning style. So we have it where it's visual, but we also have narration. And then we have little quizzes. So it makes it really easy for somebody to finish it. And our orientation start to finish, if you really pay attention, is somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes long. And that is it. And from there, they are completely onboarded with our foster program. So it's very easy. We do use Thinkific also for a leash reactivity course that we do. We use it for a body language course that we do. And one other one that I can't remember. Oh, our foster orientation as well. So it is a wonderful tool where people are able to onboard quickly and easily in the way that they want to onboard. So I would very much advocate for this. As far as your resources, make it easy to find everything. So all of our resources are on our website, which I think Kelly and Sheila put a link in the chat for that. So feel free to go through them, take anything you want, use them for your programs. And then also we have our resources on our foster Facebook page. And we also have it on Trello. So our Trello, we use it for anybody who's available for foster. And our Trello is not private. So we link to it on our public facing Facebook page. We have it on our website. One of the best ways to engage people is to show them the cute animals that you have that need placement, right? So on that Trello, let's just say somebody hasn't fostered in 3 months and they just want to see who's around. They have access right away to our resources as well. So post them far and wide, make everything easy for people. We have our emergency number plastered everywhere. We don't want anything to feel like it's difficult, right? Fostering itself, bringing a disruptive animal into your home is difficult enough. Resources and everything like that has to be really easy for your fosters. Okay, I've talked about social media and Facebook a lot, and we do use Facebook a lot. We've tried to get away from it, but our community is so engaged on Facebook, it's just impossible for us. And we've learned to really embrace it. So we have a private Facebook page for our volunteers and a private Facebook page for our fosters and adopters. So we have 3 different ones, and there's a lot of crossover, right? One of the great things about it is, like, this is a post from one of our volunteers who's working at a facility because she's in love with these 2 dogs. She posts that on our Facebook page. It means that I don't need to make an ask for, hey, can anybody foster either Custard or Sturgis? Because now she's already done it for me. She's taken better photos than I have. She says really cute things about them. And then on top of it, she just is able to engage. Then Maria, who's the foster or who's the volunteer posted, is able to engage with the fosters, and she's able to continue to get updates on these dogs after they leave the facility. Here's another example. This one is a foster parent who is excited about her first day with Renard. And I really loved this post because it's no big deal, right? It's a couple of sleepy dog photos. He's snuggling with his toy. But what we see in the comment section is one of the volunteers from animal control, Julie, is excited to see that he's in a home, right? She's seen him in a kennel. She's taking care of him. She was excited to see him go to One Tail, and now she's excited to get to see him in a home. Kayla actually knows him from our isolation center. And so she's able to kind of engage not only on, oh, isn't he cute on that level, but also more about Renard personally. A lot of times what we see with these 2 is that our volunteers are able to say, hey, he really loves chicken breast, or hey, he does XYZ, and they're able to then have a foster to volunteer relationship that isn't necessarily facilitated by our foster coordinators. Our Facebook page is also really great for when we start to see fosters get stressed. It is moderated by all of our staff. And so it's a really good indicator if we see a really frantic post that we can jump in and help them quickly. Our inboxes are all full every single day. So this is just a really great way to kind of take the temperature of how our foster community is doing. And the last thing is that it's full of really experienced, really smart fosters. So maybe a foster isn't currently fostering an animal, but maybe they did have trouble crate training their last dog and have some really great tips. So somebody may come on here saying, oh my gosh, I cannot crate train Fluffy, or I can't get this cat in a carrier, or whatever it is. And usually we have 15 people really quickly going, hey, have you tried this? Hey, this YouTube video worked for me. And so it's just immediate support. And it's something I would very much advocate for. Our community is very active, but in order for the community to be active, your staff also have to be really active on the page as well. Okay, so I've talked a lot about community. What our community does for our fosters is huge. One thing is ride support. So we live in a city. We don't always have cars. And sometimes there's a financial barrier to that too, right? People can't have cars in the city. And if somebody can't afford an Uber pet or doesn't have friends who can drive them around, they may say, I can't foster because I can't get them to their appointments, or I can't do any of these things. And I can say, no, we actually have volunteers who can do this for you. So we do give our volunteers this little safety protocol. It's a cute one pager. It talks about what they need to have on board if they're going to foster, that you can, or if they're going to transport. You can see right here, everybody's tethered in. This dog has a seat belt. And so we're able to engage our volunteers in a different way. Some people really like to drive and they'll do it all day long. And so it's one of those things where sometimes we see the same volunteer 2 or 3 times at our vet clinic with different animals. They're just bopping around the city, picking them up and taking them to appointments. And it takes a lot off of that foster's plate, right? Our volunteers also do supply requests. So every week we have a little Google form that goes out to our fosters where our fosters can say, I've got a really picky kitten right now. I need a variety of foods, or I've got a really playful bully that needs tug toys. Whatever it is, they fill out the form. A specialized pack gets made for them, and they can pick it up at our adoption center during pickup times throughout the week. Or if they don't have a vehicle and are having trouble with transportation, our teams actually do work on getting those things to them delivered. So a lot of really cool stuff as far as the supply requests go. And it's something that there's no way our coordinators could keep with on this personalized level if we didn't have volunteers and members of our community that were really invested in doing it. Field trips are another big one. A lot of our fosters right now are working from home, right? And sometimes they have important meetings where they can't have a dog, body slamming them or demand barking or things like that. And so our volunteers who maybe fell in love with a dog at a facility or maybe can't have a pet in their home love to take the dogs on field trips. Cats don't go on field trips, obviously. So we do, for any of our long-term guys, make these really cute field trip profiles where we talk about things that the dogs would excel at doing and things that maybe they shouldn't do. Like Diamond isn't great for public shops and businesses because she likes to jump on people and mount them, but she's really great at agility. We also have people who, take our muzzled guys who are mouthy to Home Depot and do training with them. So when they return to their foster parent, they're nice and tired, and the foster is able to get the work done that they need to get done. We also do this if they have, groups of people over and their foster has stranger danger. If a dog's having trouble decompressing with crate training, we might have somebody take them out for the day and then bring them back when the foster's home from work. So there's a lot of things that you can do on these field trips that make fostering easier for your foster parents. Our volunteers also do enrichment and walk support. So this is Tucker's foster mom. She posted on our Facebook page about how she has a crazy day and Tucker really needs a 15 to 20-minute walk. And somebody was able to jump in and help her out really quickly. And it alleviates her stress. It makes it so that fostering, once again, is something that is attainable and easy. We do agility enrichment. We also have doggy paddle classes where, if a dog is super rambunctious or just kind of needs some time out, they get returned to their foster tired and smarter and well-trained. So this is a really great program, and this is all, once again, volunteer run. Foster mentors. This really should be number one because it is literally the best thing that we've ever done. We have about half dozen to a dozen, depending on the time of year, experienced fosters who manage an email address, fostermentors@onetail.org. And what they do is they answer the really easy questions that can easily bog down or clog up an inbox, right? So I got my foster dog yesterday. I don't know how to put on his harness. My foster cat is having zoomies at night and keeping me up. My foster cat's not eating well, all of that kind of stuff that can be answered relatively simply. We have experienced volunteers doing this, and then anything that's concerning, they will escalate to our team. So they are our first line of defense. These are also the people who organize all those rides. So every time a foster needs a ride, they fill out a form. Then our mentor team reaches out to our volunteer transporters and they collaborate together. So without our mentor team, we would be dead in the water. If you guys do not have a mentor team, I highly recommend it and am happy to help you guys start one yourselves. So sounds like we don't have a lot for our staff to do, right? Because we have all these really cool programs. I wish that were true. We still have a ton to do. We are really lucky and we have our own veterinary clinic. So that makes things really easy for us as far as communication between our foster coordinators and our medical staff so that we understand an animal's pathway and trajectory. We do things like inoculations for this little princess. Oh, and this one too actually had one. We treat skin diseases, all of that kind of stuff is able to be done in-house in a place that focuses on our care or on our animals' care specifically. And it is just a really wonderful thing that we did, I think, in 2020. So we've had it for about 4 years now. We do offer 24-hour emergency support. If you guys do not have a document like this one, steal it from us. I promise you, it'll save you so many headaches. It goes through what's an emergency, what's not an emergency, and what to do if those things are happening. So if we've got some reverse sneezing or some coughing, our mentors can handle that. That's no problem. If we have an instance of aggression, our foster coordinators need to know about it. So that would go to our foster coordinators in an email. If an animal gets lost, if a bite requires medical attention, diabetic animals not eating, any of that kind of stuff, that goes directly to our emergency line that is manned after hours, mostly by yours truly and a couple of other staff members. So it's really important that we make sure that these things aren't going through to the line, right? Because we don't want to burn anybody out. And also fosters get frustrated if they call you and you just tell them to wait until morning. So it's really nice that they kind of know what to expect right off the bat. So many people are so concerned because this isn't their animal, right? Like you're trusting them with an animal and they feel like they don't want to do anything wrong. So they'd rather be safe than sorry. And they'll call you every 15 minutes. So this document has been really great about, I mean, we still get probably, I don't know, 4 to 5 calls a week. But this document's been really wonderful about helping guide our fosters into what is a true emergency versus not. Okay, our staff also does a ton of human and animal training. So a lot of fosters are dabbling into first-time pet ownership through fostering, and so they don't know a ton, right? And it's our job to educate them. So we do resources of the week. This one we made after a couple of hugs and kisses that were unwanted, that ended up in some scary situations. And so it's something as simple as teaching people how to interact with dogs appropriately, how to deal with separation anxiety, how to deal with decompression for cats, all of that kind of stuff. Our job is not only taking care of the animals, right? Our job is taking care of the people in our community. And so the best way we can do that is by continuing to educate them. We also offer playgroups. We offer nose work classes for our animals that are really struggling. We do virtual consultations with trainers. We will send trainers to people's homes. All of those things are important, but our first line is educating people generally through handouts and social media posts and things like that so that we can focus on our more challenging animals very specifically. Okay, our staff also does general coordination and support. So these are some of our amazing foster coordinators, and they are in charge of making sure that an animal's medical needs are met, the foster parent is feeling supported, training needs are met, all of our benchmarks are being met so that we can move animals through our system quickly so that we can bring more in. And that may sound like an easy job, but trust me, it is very hard and sometimes thankless. And they are amazing people who are supporting a lot of animals all at once. We also do a lot of appreciation, and I think this is incredibly important. You can do big things that cost money, or you can do little things that don't, right? So some little things that don't cost money are we have a birthday party for One Tail at a Time every year. For I think last year was our 16th, where we invite only our volunteers and our fosters. So it's just our community to come in and we talk about the future of One Tail, where we've been, where we're going, have some sodas, maybe some cake. Last year, a bar actually opened or closed the night and opened only for One Tail. And it was dog friendly, so people could bring their dogs. And it's a really great opportunity to make your fosters and volunteers feel like a part of staff. And they really are. Think about all of the animal care hours that they're giving you guys for free, right? We also do volunteer appreciation parties. We do discounted tickets to our annual gala, all kinds of stuff, just to make sure that our fosters and volunteers recognize that we appreciate them and that they are a part of our community. We do also have a committed club. This does cost money, but once again, if you think about the animal care hours you're saving, it's worth it, trust me. Where people who foster over 200 days might get something like this mug. And it's important for many reasons, right? The first one being somebody maybe fostered 150 days and then sees this mug and goes, I'm going to foster 50 more days because I want that mug. It is exclusive. We don't sell it anywhere. It is only for our committed fosters. The other thing is, so somebody might have a long-term foster dog or cat, and they might have gotten adopted and they're not fostering right now. They're burnt out, they're tired, whatever, but they're still drinking out of that coffee mug with your logo every morning. And it's a good way to keep you in their mind and keep them part of your community. Same with the clothes, they become a billboard for you. So all of those things are incredibly important. People feel like they're part of an exclusive club because they are, but they continue to market for you as well. So I think appreciation is really, really huge. And then the thing that we do together is we celebrate. So every Monday, our executive director puts on both our foster and volunteer pages, how many animals we have in care, how many adoptions we did that week. We list the adoptions. So many people are a part of these dogs and cats' journey throughout that it's so nice. And so many comments, like you see 27 comments down here. So many are like, oh my gosh, Rachel and Gatsby, I am so glad to see that they're finally in a home. Or, oh my gosh, Emmer got returned. That was my foster dog. I'll take him back. Or, oh my gosh, we got 40 new animals this week. So it's a time for us to all really celebrate together and get excited about the week ahead. Okay, and that is my presentation.
All right, that was fabulous. We really appreciate it. We are going to do some Q&A, and we have a lot of really good questions. The first one, I believe you said this in the beginning, but just for the people who may not have been there, how many foster coordinators do you have, and are they staff, volunteer?
Yeah, so I'm going to count our foster mentors as part of our coordinator team, right? Because they do a lot of the easy stuff for us. I shouldn't say easy, the low-hanging fruit that are very easy to answer and the quick things. So we do have somewhere between 6 to 12 mentors. Those are all volunteer. And they maybe only do man an inbox 1 day a week, every other week, things like that. And then we do have full-time staff. So for our cat program, we have a cat program manager and then also one cat foster coordinator. And then for our dog team, we have a dog foster program manager and 2 coordinators, and those are full-time positions.
Great. Next one is, do you do in-person orientations or do you suggest online accessible videos? This may have come before you talked about your training.
Yeah, I love virtual, and part of it, as you guys heard, I'm an introvert, right? So I like to make it easy for everybody, and so many people can be really overwhelmed about going to something in person. So we do everything virtual that we can, but we do those open houses too, where the orientation is in person. So we do a little bit of a hybrid, but the traditional, like what most people are going to experience if they foster through us, is the virtual orientation.
All right. Um, how do you share the heartwarming stories? How do you share the heartwarming stories you share with us? Like the guinea pig, the boy with the guinea pig. Do you find sharing the stories increases interest in your organization?
Yeah, I mean, visit our social media page. We celebrate our foster open houses far and wide when we do them. Uh, for example, we had our marketing coordinator come out and take pictures of all of the happy fosters with their animals. I think it does inspire a lot of people to say, oh my gosh, this is something I can do. So absolutely, we kind of consider our foster open houses parties, right? So think of it that way. Have donuts there, have, a bunch of volunteers there to talk up fostering too, because it's a great way to inspire.
Do you allow walk-in veterinary appointments?
We do not. We are chronically understaffed like every other clinic. So our days are planned very tightly. We do have emergency appointments open for our fosters. So let's just say I'm fostering a kitten that's lost weight, a 2-pound kitten that now is 1.8 when I woke up this morning. That's something we would consider to be an emergency, especially if they're inappetent or their energy's low. So you would contact your foster coordinator, and then your foster coordinator would get an appointment in one of those emergency slots to get you seen the same day. So we do pad them to make sure that if there is an actual emergency, we're able to get them in. We do still use ICUs though, which I should say, like a veterinary emergency center. So if something comes up in the middle of the night and I get a call and a kitten might have Pan-Luke, I do send them to an emergency room. They don't go necessarily to our clinic because our clinic is closed during those hours.
Another question, this is one that I hear a lot. How do you engage fosters to make posts? I've asked for them to post often and post updates, but there's they're not having much luck.
So that is usually a feedback issue, right? Think about when you post on your social media, what do you do an hour or two later, right? You check for likes, you check for comments. It's an engagement thing. So at least initially, make sure that you're commenting when somebody does comment. The other thing that is maybe a little manipulative that we do as staff is we might say, hey, such and such hasn't posted before. Can you go and bump their post, or, things like that. So we talk to each other as staff. So I may make a comment, but then I may reach out to our foster manager and be like, hey, can you make a comment as well? So that you're continuing to engage those people, because that's what they're looking for, right? Likes and comments. And if they're not getting those things, they're probably not going to be posting.
Do you use any platforms other than Facebook? And what do you do for fosters who don't have Facebook?
Yeah, so I wish I didn't have Facebook some days too. We do not use other platforms. We've looked into them, but overwhelmingly, we've had most people create Facebook profiles just to be a part of our groups. We do send out weekly MailChimps. And like I said, we use Trello as well. So there are other ways for us to connect with our foster parents that maybe don't have social media or that have fallen off, right? Because if they're not constantly engaging with our foster Facebook page, they no longer see it. It kind of goes to the back of mind in social media. So that's when we send Trello links, we send weekly emails, we post about fostering on our public social media. We do a lot of personalized asks too. So this is an important thing, is we will often brainstorm together if we have a difficult dog, like Burger is a great example, the Mastiff with the ear infections. And we might be like, gosh, who was the last person who took a big dog? Okay, it's such and such. Let's reach out to them specifically. So a lot of times having a good knowledge of your foster base is also a great way to engage people.
Um, this question, I believe it is about the Facebook group, but what onboarding do you require for volunteers to be involved in the community?
Yeah, so we do a really, really brief orientation, and then they can come in, and their training will depend. So we have training shifts at all of our facilities. We also have training shifts for if you want to be a mentor, other things. So once they're onboarded with our general culture and everything about One Tail and what we stand for, then we kind of pathway plan them to plug them in where they're interested.
Does your application double as your foster agreement, or do you have separate foster agreement and application?
It's a really good question. So we have both. In our application, I think, and I'll send that to you, Kelly, to post. We have, I think, 3 or 4 questions that are very specific contract, like they have to say yes or no. Yes, I'll abide by this. Yes, I'll abide by that. Part of the reason we do that is a catch-all in case for some reason they don't get our foster contract, but also it's to let somebody know up front when they're filling out an application, this is our expectation of you. During the Think If It course, there is a link to our foster agreement. It's a Google Doc. And that is also how, when they fill out that Google Doc, we get a notification and then we go in Shelter Love, we approve their profile and we get everything moving that way for them. So we have it both ways, which I know it's kind of might be silly, but it works for us.
Awesome. You mentioned that your staff do a lot of online training, provide additional resources, etc. Do you have recommendations for implementing some of the resources you mentioned for a smaller rescue that is volunteer-based and has no staff?
Yeah, so One Tail didn't have any staff either. When I joined in 2020, I think I was the 9th staff person. And now we have like 25 or 30. So we've grown a lot very quickly. So I know a lot about being small and having little to no staff. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I think that one might be best if you email me and we can talk about specifics, because it's kind of different for everybody's community and it's not a one size fits all thing, but I'm happy to talk it through.
Where do you order the apparel and mugs?
Different places. We use Big Cartel sometimes for, we do a lot of different merch orders. It's actually kind of our bread and butter. So like we did a Childless Cat Lady series, and that we did through Big Cartel. We also use, oh my gosh, our marketing person would kill me if I don't know this. You can email me and I'll get you that information because I can't think of it. I can see their stickers that we get in the boxes and I literally cannot think of the name right now.
Do you pay staff, and where do you get funding for staff? From donations?
Yeah, from donations mostly. We do get a lot of, we do grants just like every other organization as well. So we do have some staff funding via grants. But a lot of it of our overhead is paid for through donations.
And can you remind us about how many animals that you generally have fostered at any one time?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's somewhere between 350 and 400 at any given time.
Thank you so much, Stacy. And thanks to everybody watching this webcast.